G'day folks, my name is Rob and welcome to the very first video on the F1 Fantasy Hub YouTube channel for the upcoming 2023 F1 Fantasy season. It's a bit of an admin reveal for those of you who follow me on Twitter, and if we haven't crossed paths before, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. So this video is going to serve as a bit of a brief introduction about me, a small preview into the F1 Fantasy season and my plans for this page and this channel going forward. A little bit about me, I followed F1 for about 5 or 6 years now. This upcoming season will be my third playing F1 Fantasy. I moved to the United States for work about a year ago from Australia, if you can't already tell, and being on a better time zone not only allowed me to follow the races in real time, but I also thought, look, why not set up a Twitter page to understand more about the F1 Fantasy game, engage with other people in the community, and for those of you who followed me, seen the page, progressively grow over the last 12 months. So really exciting for me and for F1 Fantasy itself. It's a really exciting time for that too, given we're seeing a lot more tools and resources come out and be used by you guys to help better inform those decisions we need to make each week. So I guess a couple of storylines that interest me for the upcoming F1 season. The rookies, Oscar Piastri, Nick De Vries, Logan Sargent. Piastri specifically, given he's Australian, I've got obviously a vested interest in him. I'm really excited to see how he goes in the papaya, particularly after that furore with Alpine last year. I think there's a bit of pressure on him to perform, but we've seen what he's capable of in F2 and F3. So definitely think he'll be able to slot into that seat pretty seamlessly. As for De Vries, we saw what he was capable at Monza last year, deputising for Alex Albon. I think by the end of the season, he'll have his hands firmly on that number one seat at AlphaTauri. And then for Logan Sargent, being in the United States here, I think it's a really exciting time for F1 in the US. Not only do they now have a constructor to support, but a hometown hero to root for. So going into that Williams, we know that it's not necessarily the best car on the grid, so the expectation and the pressure will hopefully be a little bit lower for him. I'm just excited to see all three of these guys on the grid. I think for some old faces and new places, we've got Pierre Gasly moving to Alpine after having a couple of seasons that were not great for Pierre. I think we'll see the old Pierre in Alpine alongside Esteban Ocon. I think they'll put aside their differences and hopefully he's back to his best in a car that really exceeded expectations in 2022. As for Alonso, we know Aston Martin promise a whole lot. Let's see if they can actually walk the walk this season. Again, being in a car that overperformed in 2022, I think Alonso will try and get as much as he can out of that Aston Martin and wouldn't be surprised if we see him in a few points finishes in 2023. For teams looking to bounce back, Mercedes we know had a really slow start in 2022 and tightened things up in the back half of the year. I think George Russell really put on a show for us in a few of those races. Brazil obviously the standout for me, and then Lewis Hamilton, probably a season to forget for him, so I think he'll be hungry for a few wins in 2023. And then McLaren, as I touched on, they've got Piastri in their team, but I think the car itself was a little bit below their standards in 2022, so look at Lando to really push that car to its limit in the upcoming season. From an interface perspective for F1 Fantasy, there was a lot of uproar over the platform last year. There was inconsistent pricing and sentiment algorithms and pricing that just wasn't reflective of driver and constructors' performances. So we've seen F1 and Play On respond retroactively to a few of these issues. They probably weren't addressed in the best manner in 2022, but I think with a full off-season under their belt, they'll be able to really tackle a few of those teething issues for a game that's only going into its 5th season. So big things I think for F1 Fantasy in 2023, and let's hope they can pull it all together nicely. As for this channel, not something I've done a lot of in the YouTube space before, but followed a lot of content creators. For those of you that play Fantasy Premier League, I think that's really the benchmark for fantasy sports and content creation. So really inspired after speaking to a number of you to launch this channel. My preliminary plans for this channel at this stage is to do at least one video per race week. That's going to consist of a race preview of the upcoming race, my team selection, watch list for drivers in form or worth consideration, and then any other matters that are pertinent to the upcoming race, such as quality race streaks, grid penalties, etc. If there's any interest in deadline streams throughout the season, that's also something I'll give some serious thought to, because I know that's had some success in other fantasy sports as well. But I think given the channel is in its infancy, there's plenty of opportunity for it to evolve. Would welcome any and all feedback from you guys watching, particularly in relation to the content, but also in relation to the format of these videos. But yeah, look, this is just a brief one. Just wanted to show my face, say hello, and if you like what you're seeing, you're excited for the season, you want to see anything in particular from me and from this channel, drop me a comment below, subscribe to the channel so you're seeing all of the videos as they come through, and yeah, I'm sure you'll hear from me very soon. Thanks guys.